What is up, guys? It's that GTA fan 720 with another video. Now, if you guys are, I forgot to turn that on. If you guys own a smartphone, which I'm pretty sure many of you own a smartphone, you guys probably own a phone with Android, iOS, Windows, etc. You own a computer. Okay, I own a computer. Here's my computer. Runs Windows 10. It's pretty good. Seems pretty nice, right? Well, here's the thing. The fact is that no matter what platform you use, in this day and age, you're going to have companies that are trying to collect your telemetry. And us as users can try to stop or at least mitigate those issues. Some of us may not even see them as issues. Some of us see them as very big issues. Some of them, seem like it's kind of iffy, but we don't really care because it's just kind of whatever, it's free. Like Facebook, Google, all these companies, they rely on advertising and monetization in order to survive and give us their services for free. Here's the problem that a lot of people see with hardware and software, because you pay for Windows 10. And you don't expect Windows 10 to be spying on you. You don't expect them to be collecting any form of telemetry because you paid money out of your pocket. You paid $119 or you paid $199 to have that software be on your computer, and yet they still want to upsell you after you've already made your initial purchase. Same thing with phones. We buy smartphones. We spend anywhere from $50 to upwards of $1,000 on these devices. And yet, when you spend that much money, you still don't own your device. Your device may be locked to your carrier. Your device may not allowed to be run on certain international carriers. If you travel, you might have to have a different phone entirely, or get a new SIM card, or if you switch carriers, you might not be able to use your phone on your new carrier. If you break your phone, it's very difficult to repair it, and obviously they go out of their way to make these phones as cheap and fragile as possible. So you have to deal with that, but also on the software side, these companies on which you spend hundreds, some cases even thousands of dollars on their services, on their software, on their hardware, they still own it. You do not own your software. Case in point, Galaxy Note 7. You bought your Galaxy Note 7 for $850 unlocked. Whether you bought it unlocked or through your carrier, you spent almost $1,000 on that phone. 2 months later, Samsung decides we have a problem with that phone. We're going to shut down all of these phones remotely. So if you're in an emergency, you can't contact anyone. So if you don't have any other device to switch to, you're out of luck. Give your device back and we'll give you a worse device. And people accept that. People accepted that. People tried to get a lawsuit. Didn't work for some reason. Because safety. Windows 10 automatically installed and upgraded a woman's computer, completely bricking her machine and costing her hours of productivity because she runs her own business from her computer. Settled out of court. I don't remember the exact number. I'll link the article in the description. She won against Microsoft, and they basically had to pay for damages. Damages to her computer, damages to her business, damages to her software. They had to pay, which is good. Which brings us to the topic today. OnePlus. If you don't know what OnePlus is, they're a phone company. They're a pretty new phone company. They recently released their OnePlus 5 smartphone. It's a very good smartphone. It's definitely a good product. OnePlus doesn't appeal to me personally, but I would consider it. For the price, they have very good phones. Part of their appeal was, hey, you don't need to spend $700 on a phone. We'll give you a good phone with the same specs, all the same hardware. Nothing is gimped, no gimmicks. 2, 3, 400. Boom. Flagship phone, a third, half the price. We were like, yeah, that sounds awesome. Nice. We bought them. And now we learned this. Whether you believe it, whether you don't care, whether you'd prefer this not to happen on a device you spent hundreds of dollars on, here we are today. We have OnePlus. There's a new controversy going around that OnePlus has essentially a form of telemetry that's built into one of the services that's on their devices. And these services have recently been amplified in a recent software update. So basically, OnePlus's Oxygen OS collects data about when and how often you unlock your phone, which apps you launch and use, and what Wi-Fi networks you connect to. Some of that's routine stuff, which is true. I mean, even any anonymous usage data is good because it will actually improve things about the device. It's only when it's personally identifiable that it becomes a pretty big issue. However, the company is also transmitting this information along with your phone's serial number. The serial number and the IMEI number are two big no-nos when it comes to data transferring. Companies should not be able to get a hold of these pieces of data because these are personally identifiable. Going back to the Note 7, that's why a lot of people who wanted to keep their Note 7s, they got prepaid carriers. Because prepaid carriers are required to not log your IMEI information, which is why many people who wanted to keep their Note 7s were able to successfully use their Note 7s on that service, as well as people who have blacklisted phones because of the fact that they do not store your IMEI, which that IMEI can be traced back to tell you, number one, obviously what phone model it is, but number two, who it belongs to, the phone number that's associated with, the accounts that are on that device, all sorts of information that are personally identifiable. And this isn't a matter of this person clicked on an app. It's a matter of your name, your address, your email, your phone number. Things that you do not want to get out there. All these things that are sitting in a database somewhere, if we let these companies do it, and one hack, one leak, and your data's gone. Your phone's blowing up. You're in emails all over the place. Your credit card gets stolen. Pretty serious things. All because a company wants to use personally identifiable data, which they don't even need. Keep in mind, anonymous data is still very useful and very helpful. If Samsung knows that 83% of people on their phone open up the gallery, then they will know by default to put the gallery on the home screen. It's very similar with any form of usage data. And that doesn't need to be personally identifiable. So what's OnePlus doing here? They are taking your personal data, your serial number, your IMEI, your phone number, all kinds of things that should not be logged, that should not be stored in a database somewhere. And they are doing just that. The company said, quote, in a statement that it collects this data over secure streams in order to fine-tune its software for a better experience and to provide better after-sales support. And this is the article's quote, not mine. That's wonderful, OnePlus, but isn't it obvious that your customers wouldn't want all this data to be anonymized at the very least? Because they're anonymizing data that is not anonymous. They're taking personal data, and then what do we know what they're doing with it? Now, obviously, maybe they have no malicious intent at all, which obviously they don't, because they're a phone company. Who cares what they're doing? It's not like they're selling your phone number to, scammers or anything. However, keep in mind, this is still information that's sitting in a database somewhere that has the potential to be breached. So why is it that we accept, and apparently a lot of people aren't accepting this, a lot of people are mad at OnePlus, but there are some people who will bring up, like with Windows 10, there's like so many companies, like with Google, there's a whole Scroogle campaign, there's people calling Windows 10 a big piece of spyware. You know, overall, there's a lot of controversy in recent years. And as we remain in this always connected world where we have hundreds of devices around us that can do so many things, and we tie our lives so closely to these devices, it really makes you wonder. You know, for example, one day I discovered that my phone had a cool feature called Samsung Pay, where you can use your phone as an alternative to swiping a credit card at a terminal, and it doesn't even need to be NFC capable. Regular card readers, unlike Google and Apple Pay, you can just put your phone on it, and Samsung Pay will automatically swipe your card, and it will, once you authenticate it, it'll just go through. You authenticate it with your fingerprint sensor or whatever, and there you go. You just paid with your credit card. My dad, whenever I recommended that, he said, I don't want to do that because I don't trust it. And I kind of thought, at first I'm kind of like, well, why? Why wouldn't that make it so much easier? But then I thought, that means if he used Samsung Pay and Samsung Pay's servers, Samsung's Samsung Pay servers were compromised, all the credit cards and the accounts that he has stored in Samsung Pay, which some people will put everything in there, is potentially compromised. Not so convenient now, is it? Because you can lose a card. You can lose a card, and then somebody might not pick it up. And then you just cancel it, and then it's just a brick. Who cares? However, if it's in a database somewhere, and it has constant usage on it, who knows where that could be tracked back to? If someone can get a hold of that information, who knows what they can do without even needing to physically have your card. They can potentially do all of their dirty work remotely. We live in an age of ever-increasing mobility. And the fact that your information can be taken so easily. Even, don't even think about phones. You know your old computer, your grandma, your mom, they have their old computer. And they think, man, my computer's getting really slow. It's really old. I'm just going to buy a new computer with Windows 10. And they think, oh, but this new Windows 10, it's going to spy on me. So I'll just buy a new computer with Windows 7. There. Problem solved. Assuming that's even the case. Because it's clear that Microsoft may or may not have backported some of their telemetry features to Windows 8.1 and Windows 7. So you're not really immune, I would say, unless you either have Vista or 8.0. And even then, you can still make arguments, depending on how far back you go. So then this person takes their old computer, which has their taxes, their bank statements, Social Security details, credit card logs, databases from work, spreadsheets about past expenses, passwords stored in Internet Explorer, pictures of family members. They throw out their old computer, no password on the desktop, or at least if there is, it's very easy to crack. And they don't remove their hard drive, they don't erase their hard drive. At most, you find 5 gigabytes of files sitting in the recycle bin. Someone grabs that computer. Who knows what they could do with that information, even if it's outdated. And then people think, oh, I got hacked. It's because I bought that new computer with Windows 10. When in reality, they were never really that secure with their data in the first place. So it's not just companies getting a hold of this data. You need to be responsible for your own data as well. That's just how it is. Someone's going to get a hold of that old PC. Who knows what they could do with that information? It's sad. It's crazy to deal with. But we are in an era where these companies are going to want to get information from you. And it's up to you whether you think that that's good or not. However, I'm pretty sure we can all agree with the fact that we need to be more secure with the way we treat our data. If you have a phone, have any form of authentication set up, have multi-factor authentication on many different apps, and always have your phone on you. If you're a person who loses or breaks your phone, have a backup phone handy with your current phone number, maybe even a burner number. So that way, if you lose your phone, you don't get locked out of any of your stuff. Your desktop, your laptop, keep passwords, use different passwords, or at the very least, if you use the same password, alter it a little bit. I will admit I am guilty of using similar passwords, but the fact is that you just got to make them at least somewhat different so you can know. You're just going to have to remember stuff. You can also get something like LastPass, but keep in mind that that's not bulletproof. Those services can be compromised. So, we're just in an era where pretty much anything is susceptible to being stolen. So you just gotta kind of use your head and just kind of, stay vigilant about your data. And the good news is that if you are a OnePlus user and you don't approve of this, you can actually disable the service that does this telemetry. Very similar to how on Windows 10 there are tools like Spybot, Anti-Beacon that can get rid of these tools. For example, or for the Galaxy Note 7, there is the Alliance Shield, which will keep your Note 7 from being crippled with the battery kill updates. There's a lot of different things out there for many different, pieces of telemetry. You can disable a lot of things in Android. You can disable services in Windows in order to help stop telemetry if you don't want it. But above all, just be safe with your data. Make sure that you have good security solutions in place. You have backups, all your data, like your videos, your pictures, passwords. That's all locked up in a safe place. Have multiple backups, both digital and physical, so that way you have off-site and on-site backups, so you don't lose your data, you don't lose any of your important information. Anyway, guys, this is that GTA Fan 720 signing out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys on the next episode of The Story Behind. Peace.